about 3 meters maybe. I don't know. I find it problematic.
As part of the underground relocation program, special permissions were given to Messerschmitt for a 7,000 square meter production facility for ME262 parts. This was set up in tunnels outside the small town of Kimaten in Tyrol. Messerschmitt GmbH Kimaten. It was a small agricultural town, but by the end of the war it had become industrialized and nearly tripling its pre-war population. The city was chosen in 1940 as the new site for the construction of Messerschmitt's military aircraft, because its location deep in the mountain valley made it more difficult target for potential Allied bombers. Later, after Allied heavy bombing damage to the Messerschmitt factory in Innsbruck in December 1943, it was decided to move part of the production into underground factories in the region. By May 1944, plans had been made to build a 100,000 square foot underground factory southeast of the Messerschmitt factory in Kimaten. Quarrying of the tunnels began 1 month later under the code name Seelachs. And from November 1944 until April 1945, it employed up to 400 to 2,000 workers, of whom at least initially 250 was conscripted forced laborers. The special feature of the Messerschmitt production facility here was that it consisted of 2 production facilities: a modern above-ground factory, well adapted to the alpine terrain, and an underground production facility in the immediate vicinity. The geological conditions here required the underground facility to be designed accordingly. A geologist's report specified the shape of the facility because of its soft gneiss rock, with graphite inclusions. The production halls were therefore planned with a width of 9 meters, height of 5.5 meters, and the length of 8 galleries was between 70 to 110 meters. In its final stages, the plant was to have a total usable area of 90,000 square meters, of which 52% was intended for the production area and the remaining 47% for the non-productive area, which roughly corresponds to the conditions of the above-ground factory facility with 79,000 square meters. For this, tons and tons of rock was to be mined. What was unusual about this construction, it was carried out on behalf of the Messerschmitt GmbH Tyrol, with the help of architects, civilian engineers, and construction companies, at their own expense. It was not until November 1944, when the construction of the underground production rooms was already well advanced, that the project was officially included in the construction program of the Jägerstaff, or the armament staff. That is not unusual that factories would start their own facilities underground. We will see that in later episodes. The above-ground factory facilities in Kimaten here you see. 1 was a production building, 2 the transformer station, 3 training workshops, 4 the paint shop, 5 the kitchen and dining room. The 6th are the barracks with sanitary barracks and a bicycle shelter. 7 was spare part warehouse, 8 locomotive shed, 9 the workers' accommodation. The buildings without numbers were only built later for production of the provincial manor and made of wood. In Kimaten, the company began producing parts for the Bf 109, 110, and the ME210 aircraft models. For the ME262, ailerons and landing flaps were mainly manufactured in Kimaten, and these were all manufactured in the underground part of the factory. The particular advantage of Kimaten was that the production of the components for the ME262 could be started in the above-ground factory facilities. One of the cylindric production was running smoothly was that it gradually relocated to the underground area. This meant the production figures could be kept constant despite the underground relocation. Over 1,500 workers were German, another 1,500 or so were foreign nationals. Of these, only 729 worked underground, namely 140 Germans and 589 foreigners. Since Kimaten was never attacked from the air, the above-ground facilities were able to operate at full capacity. It should be mentioned, particular that the construction of the underground facilities was carried out in a much more humane manner, and there are no such excesses that were common in other underground construction projects of the Ministry of Armaments, where concentration camp prisoners were employed. This was due to the history of the construction project and how it was operated initially by the company itself. The division of the production was that in Tunnel 1 individual parts were manufactured, then completed and assembled in the neighboring Tunnel 2. Final assembly and surface treatment of the ailerons and landing flaps took place in Tunnel 3, as well as preparation for their shipping. To transport the waste material away, an existing field railway track was extended to the tunnel construction site. The first production hall was completed on December 8, 1944. The welding department and quality control moved in the following day. The second, somewhat smaller production hall was completed in February 1945 and immediately occupied. At the same time, a tool shed was built next to the Melach River. That we found by accident.
Well, seen from the inside is the first door. And what makes this interesting is, see how thick the cement is. Then you write on the stone and hold the door. And then you have the first blast deflector, which I think is very interesting. Now there's a couple of different ways in here. This is a blast deflector. And I'm just hoping this is the one that connects to the entire system. And I think it is. This is where they're planning on building ME262s. Just look at the blast deflection. This is no longer a technical entrance. That would just get in the way. This is a working entrance. And if you look at the ceiling, cables and into the next. And we got to give it to her because just like all the bones she always finds, she's the one that found the entrance. But look at how they did this runway, the road. Lots of stuff in the ceiling. This is not an excavation entrance. This is one for working. Now there are two more entrances, and I hope this is not the section that was blown up by the French, because that would mean we're stopping right here, and I really don't want to. Why? That wood's a bit old. Wait a minute. Damn it. This is it. This is where it ends. But this is a different tunnel. Apparently this was the plan. They were going to connect cement. I wonder if they used this for storage. Oh, cement. There was a floor. They built a floor in here. This is almost as if cement here as well. Almost as they built this and then used it for storage. Look at how they piled the bricks on top of each other. So this is what this was. This was a secure storage. So the factory is still behind us, and we still have to find that entrance. They're very electrical in here, but this walkway is really interesting. Office. I've just never seen anything with a wooden floor. Built a nice little corner. Another little corner. So there's ventilation running to it. This little road is just, yeah, construction wood, the siding is still there. Ran that slightly uphill, would mean that all the moisture or water would run down here. This is not destroyed, this is not blown up. So this is actually a fourth entrance. This is not the one we initially were looking for, any of them. Very, very interesting. Well, this is not any of the entrances we were looking for. This is the fourth one. Don't know what that means, but that means this one is not really on the map. I think they use this for storage of some sorts. Oh. It leads into a little room with wood floors, and that's it. This is not destroyed. Down there. That must be where it is.
Both the above ground and underground plant facilities were served by the company's own field railway, whose track system ran from the standard gauge siding. Very hard to see where that was today.
Be careful, here is hole.
Cables are hanging right over my head here. Here's rubber boots. There are actually rubber boots lying here. Somebody left for us. I love fellow explorers who take care of each other. Huh? Okay. Well, I see a line of rocks leading this way. Here we go. Ow! By the way, it's very low to the ceiling. So, again, they were making ME262 parts here. Very small door openings. I don't know. I find it problematic to believe that they were building something as large as airplane parts in a place where the entrances are this small. Because what are you gonna carry in and out of here is a bit of a problem. Certainly the ventilation was in place. That's the other entrance that's closed up there. Ah, okay. This looks a little better when it comes to walking on water. Never mind. So, this was the bigger entrance, I presume. Yeah, my shoes are now as wet as they're gonna get, so it's fine. I know I'm standing on water.
And I say we need rubber boots, but no one listens to me.
Huh?
And I say it, we need the rubber boots and no one listens to me.
You know, I really need to start making a point of listening to you. Because you really always seem to be right. And it hurts me saying that because I should know so much better. I'm of course kidding. Okay, all right. We're in good shape here. You can really see how deep this goes now. But you're looking at an entrance where rail will come, and I can feel a little bit up sloping up here. I know something was demolished. This is not it. Something could possibly have been built here, and here you can see the grooves in the ground from the rail track that ran here. So you have the map of the tunnel system. So where are we going? It's fairly large. I could imagine this would have something to do with ventilation system. I can imagine lots of things. And oh wait. Again, there's like how they built a wall up against the wall here. Interesting. Huh? What? What?
That we are soon entering the multi-road.
It's actually nice to be inside a tunnel system for a minute when I have a map, so I can sort of navigate, which I will try to do. Find a map. Here's the map. Okay. So we came in there. Yeah, we should have lots of tunnels in square pattern. Lots of water. I'm just going to give on my whole part where I'm not going to get wet, except that's going to be a part of this day. Very large pieces of wood, just like the floor in the third opening. Dowel to hold wood together. Lots of wood.
Okay, so that's water here.
Yeah, I sort of just gonna accept that this is just gonna be part of how this day's gonna go. Unless we can crawl up here along. You can also down here. Somebody build a little thing here. Okay, this is starting to look a lot bigger. That doesn't look very healthy, does it? Looks a little pregnant, actually. Kind of bulky. Okay, we're getting into somewhat of a bigger space here. Okay, so this is the part the French blew up at some point after the war. This was the French zone of occupation. So there's a possibility we can go over it. There's also a possibility we can go around it. Wow, this is pretty big. Did it say anything if production started? this is part of that collapse. Let's see how this may go. Is this any? Okay. There's no way. Certainly. Put it down there. Is there a way over this? Or past it? No. This is, unless there's around it, there's certainly nothing over it. And there's behind us, so don't panic. We haven't just gotten here to leave. Hook. Nothing. Yeah. Yeah, this was where that was. Okay, so maybe if we go straight down that hallway there, there's a way through or around it. Should be. I certainly think. It's a fairly big space, considering it have endured a rather traumatizing moment, courtesy of some amount of explosives in the ceiling. So then there's this. I think that's part of the same collapse. So that's two ways that it's blocked off. Let's try the third one. Well, they had ventilation and electricity, and they still had the rails here, so they may not have gotten to the point where they were producing anything yet. But that's a piece of cement, isn't it? This is a piece of cement. These slabs are pieces of cement. That looks like a rock wall. This also looks like a dead end, although there's an arrow there. So there's a way around there. And I'm going to take a gander for a minute at the people who have gone here before me and placed a little arrow there for my convenience. Obviously they knew I was coming. I see stairs.
Let's hope Italians didn't build this.
Let me see, I think production started in 43. Oh, it could be. This is fun. You can hear the waterfall here. And the walls are vibrating a little. As we get closer to the waterfall, we're coming out to under the waterfall. This is really creepy. But here certainly was infrastructure. Benches. Here's a long straight tunnel. We're about 3 meters maybe from the tunnel floor. And here's a lot more built up. And apparently graffitied. Really didn't have to graffiti stuff, come on. Come on, you guys. This is an out. The other out. This is the other out.
Yes.
So we have to go back in and see if we can get up over that last collapse because it looks kind of promising. So how the hell did they get workers' material anything here? What is here? There's a waterfall here. There's nothing, there's a little path over there to the knee rail. How would that even work? And here was only a door. This wasn't a technical exit, this was... I'm not sure what this was. If there's only a little door here...
The managing director of the industrial division in Innsbruck, Walter Weiser, was made the head of the Messerschmitt works in Kematen. Weiser was ultimately responsible for the prisoners who were forced to work here, manufacturing weapons. He was arrested by U.S. troops and convicted later of high treason in an Austrian court on October 3, 1947, however was released on time served due to mitigating circumstances that was later proved to be fabricated. He is alleged to have received, and never returned, several million Reichsmarks at the end of the war, with instructions from Messerschmitt to hide the money. But whether he returned the lost millions, or invested in other Austrian industries, or simply kept the money remains unknown. But before you go looking for hidden money in the area, he lived a long life, and would have retrieved them later. Today there is a road and a portion of a forest named after him.
Not a whole lot of material is going to come in and out of here. It's very interesting how, again, we have somewhat of a secure entrance, blast entrance type thing. And we're straight into this. So, the wall to my left absolutely is not a material entrance. So there was just this little door. What would they have produced here with such small entrances? This almost have more of a feel of a, I don't know, an air raid shelter. It was not an air raid shelter, not to worry. This was the Seelachs complex. Lots of attachments on the walls for hanging cabling above these things. There's lots more in the mountain. Now we'll just see how well the French blew it up. There's some danger was mentioned in relation to going over that collapse. But that also tells me that there is an over that collapse. And if you're seeing this, obviously, I survived. And I did bring a helmet for a young lady who sees all these things that I just breezed past. Nothing better than exploring with a buddy. Walking on pointy rocks. These rocks are, I'm gonna say, not slippery. That thing again looks like cement type of thing. There's a rope over there, or cable over there. And now I think Tom mentioned, by the way, thanks Tom, shooting me the coordinates. Hang on, I need lighting, where the hell am I? Here we go. That was wasteful. Said there was a way over this collapse, although, okay, all the rocks are moving, it's fine, although it was dangerous. Okay, I see this. I see a hole there. Okay. Just in case I get squished by something, the car keys are in my right pocket. I'm saying that sort of sarcastically, being a little funny, because I think we can get through. Huh? How do you know?
Well, it's my instinct.
Okay.
Tom stated it must be it.
All right. Just don't touch anything above you. Don't touch the roof of the cave anywhere, okay? Not with your head, not with your hands, nothing. It doesn't look nearly as brittle as places I have been, but I don't want to... Oh. Yeah, no. This is as far as that goes. Yeah. Well, yeah. Wow, for a lot of metal in here, in the rocks. Yeah, there's a dead end, as far as I can tell. Or, of course, there's also this way. No. Alright. I guess the French did a decent job blowing this up. Why? Why, French people? Remember, the Austrians had nothing to do with this. They were all on vacation.
They just happened to come back.
Huh?
They just happened to come back in 1945 and
Yeah.
something different.
Alright. Yeah. Surprisingly wet for a tunnel that's right next to a waterfall. Yeah, being sarcastic. Oh, pipe up there. Or dowel. Alright. Now, I guess we look at metal on the ground and see what was here. Fairly big space. Hard to judge what was in behind, but gonna have one more look at the other collapse, just because. This looks very flat for a wall. It doesn't look like cement, doesn't it?
Yes.
This is cement.
Yes.
And then here comes the rock, which of course landed above the cement. So this was cemented walls. I'm standing on. Okay. Still have the drill holes, or the blast holes, as I guess that would actually be since it's big enough, but could also have been holes that was drilled by the French engineers when they decided to blow this up. That order is the one order of the Second World War I could have done without.
Did you see how bent like this is? Like by force?
These are those holders or attachments,
Yeah,
aren't
it
they?
should be like this.
Yeah.
Facing like straight. And there is another one too that is also bent. Like all of these are bent on this side.
Yeah. Oh, that.
Yes, I moved it there and there's. Okay, I'll move it.
All right.
Well, it's that end probably.
Yeah. Oh well. I kind of wonder. Now. Well, I'm gonna regret it if I don't at least have a look. Yeah, this, no. Well, at least there's photos and a map. Although the map is of what was supposed to have been, what the final project was. As we've seen many times, when we have the maps we have, even the Fiebing and Kammler maps, they're indicative of what the end result should be, and they're not an exact depiction of what actually is on the ground, which is very interesting, because you would think the final maps should, well, depict what is, or should be a representation of what is at the time of the construction stage. But that is a whole nother conversation we will be having as we start dissecting the maps a little more closely, including the possibility of some of them being forced. This wire rod cable. This is new. So electrical was in here. I don't see any ventilation other than the large ventilation thing, right? believe that's what we call an artifact. Or what's left of it. See, I don't think this is a collapse or a demolition. I think this is stuff that was built up here, walls, rooms, that was destroyed or collapsed and then shoved up in the corner here. That's what this reminds me of. But there's a lot of very strange things going on in this area, with a lot of constructions of things, including aeronautical space towards the end of the war. A lot of things were moved in this place, and it's not entirely clear what that was about. Son of a bitch, I just walked into a piece of metal. I shouldn't do that. Ventilation pipes. So this is the only actual entrance for materials and things. A half arch, some bricked up post-war. Ventilation tubes. Cement here. With doorway. There's probably a door here. There was a door here. Here's a bag of cement. Here's bags of cement. The bags are gone. Bags of cement. Why were the bags of cement in here? They would mix the cement outside, surely. There's no reason to mix cement in the tunnel. There's not room for that kind of thing in here.
Yes, there was even there.
Yeah.
This is probably the piece of cement.
It is. It is a piece of the burlap bag. I can't believe this survived. I don't know if you bring it to a museum. I don't think anybody wants a piece of burlap. More you can say about the wood. Watch the nails. Hang on to it, so we'll into it. That's a very large ventilation machine there. So they did have ventilation in the tunnel that was operating. Somebody left a pair of rubber boots out here. I know. And here more of these that here it sort of becomes clear they look like shelves. 3 layers deep, cement bags in there. Again, a very small door. These doors are very small for moving materials, production, anything in and out of. Yes. And there's more of these racks, which is a strange place to have these racks, because if here was a rack and somebody was to be stored on top of them, you'd block the entrance. That door, well, that door leaves the ventilation pipe, so that's fine. All right. cable holders, like the others, but it's have a little angle on the end. That's a bag of cement I'm standing on. Nice touch. These really are all the way throughout the whole compass. It could also been, no, it couldn't be. I was thinking about the holder for the ventilation pipe. That would be ridiculous to think it would be.
The plant was not considered a major target and was thus not attacked. Only once, when a substation in the city of Innsbruck was hit by bombs, was the underground production without power for a short time, since the plant was linked to no fewer than 12 substations in Austria and Bavaria via the interconnected system. The destruction of one or two such plants could only result in a brief interruption of the power supply. In a U.S. post-war report on this system, it was concluded that a bombardment from high altitude would hardly have affected the underground plant, since the production halls were deep enough inside the mountain to withstand even the heaviest bombs. The possibility of deep attacks against the three entrances, with productive structures against them, or the power lines leading to the plant, were also viewed with some skepticism due to the alpine terrain and the surrounding high mountains. Overall, the company and its underground production plants were given a good report. This was of particular interest in the cost efficiency of such a plant compared to the above-ground relocation plants, the so-called forest plants, or forest factories. Those we have yet to visit, there's very little left of these today. Here, one of the forest factories had been discovered by the U.S. Army and is going through the content. These were very open, very rudimentary, and far more productive than people have been led on. Kematen was liberated by the U.S. Army on 4th May 1945 and later occupied by the French military. The various labor camps were used by the United Nations for a number of years after the war for displaced persons. The underground tunnels for the Messerschmitt factory were left as they were at the war's end, and their entrances were dynamited in 1947 in the interest of public safety, and as you will see now that we crawl through them, it made them much safer, I'm sure.
My name is Tino Struckmann. I run Lost Battlefields. Every year I travel around the world to try to bring you to all the most interesting historical military locations from modern wars and the World War II special projects, battlefields, forts, fortresses, and tunnels, everything else. Things you may not be able to see or go to yourselves. Please join me on Patreon or join Lost Battlefields through the website so you get access to all my files and my notes. It really does help, and like, follow, share here on the channel if you can. That helps too.